Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to Astrology with Georgie. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the birth chart of Elon Musk, along with his transit chart and his progressions. I just thought it'd be fun to just dive into basically his natal placements and then kind of what's been going on for him at the moment. Obviously, he's very much in the public eye because of recent inauguration attachments to Donald Trump and all that malarkey. I was going to do Donald Trump and I just thought I'm kind of sick of the man, to be honest. So I thought we'll do Elon Musk. And obviously he's had a bit of controversy over a certain hand gesture. So I thought we'll take a look at that and we'll see what's going on. Now, before we get into the video, if you do get value from this, please give the video a thumbs up. Let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts. If you don't subscribe to the channel, subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, any future content from me. Usually I'm always putting out new moon and full moon videos and then the odd extra one like this when I do have the time. I do personal readings. If you would like your own personal chart read, if you'd like a transit reading, a natal reading, an astrocartography reading, I do a variety of readings covering a variety of budgets as well. So do head over to the information and you can find my website and all my details on there. So let's get into this. Now, I know you shouldn't be biased and you shouldn't judge people. And to be perfectly honest, guys, I don't know a huge amount. I've been reading his Wikipedia, but I don't know a huge amount I don't know a huge amount about his personal life. But I wasn't expecting him to be a Cancer rising and a Cancer sun. This is just my prejudgment. I wasn't expecting it. I was thinking he looks like an Aquarius rising. To me, he honestly looks like an alien. Like when I look at Elon Musk, he looks like an alien to me. And I know people say that, oh, he's an alien because he's so involved in so many technological advancements, but he does genuinely look like an alien to me. But anyway, he's not an alien, or he could be. He is a Cancer rising with his sun in the first house, and he is a Virgo moon. So his big three: Cancer, Cancer, Virgo. Now, the first thing that we think about with his Cancer placements, when your sun is in the same sign as your rising sign, you are a very well-rounded personality, because how you present yourself to the world is the same as who you actually are, your sun. And when you have your sun in the first house, it puts like a double emphasis on that sign, obviously. We always say to people, oh, always listen for your big three, as each will always resonate. Well, Cancer for him is a very strong energy in his chart. So, in terms of Cancer predictions, he will resonate with this really strongly with his sun and his rising sign being in Cancer. Cancer is a cardinal sign, which means it's actually very good at initiating things. I think sometimes we can kind of forget with Cancer because most of the time it's like, oh, Cancers are really sensitive. All they do is cry. Cancer is a cardinal sign. Cancers are very good at initiating. Same as Aries, Libra, Capricorn, very good at springing into action. It's cardinal, so it's initiating. So this is somebody that obviously has the ability to initiate projects. And one of the first thing I've noticed about this chart is his Mercury bang on his ascendant. Now, when we have planets on the angles, on any of the angles, they resonate really, really strongly in the individual's chart. Now, interestingly, it is Mercury, and Mercury rules technology. Mercury rules technology. It rules communication. It naturally rules the third house, because obviously it rules Gemini, and it does also rule his third house because he has the Virgo on his third house. So already we're tying in the third house, which is technology, into his life direction. And interestingly as well, so there's so many places to start when picking apart a chart, but one of the first things you can look at is the chart ruler. So being a Cancer rising, his chart ruler is the moon. So we want to look at exactly where's the moon. The moon is in the third house. Technology, communities, neighborhoods, communication. But really for him, obviously, we can just focus on technology. In Virgo, being very particular, very precise, and developing a skill around technology in some sense. Now, this, because his moon is here, this is pointing towards the direction of his life. So wherever your chart ruler is, it's an automatic focus on the individual's life focus. Did that make sense? So, you can do this with your own chart. Where is the ruler of your first house? Because you will 100% resonate with that house. in some form or another. Now, for him, we know that his life direction is deliberately tied in with inventions. You know, Virgo. One of the archetypes of Virgo is the craftsman, developing a skill, perfecting a skill, and being in the third house, it's like inventions, technology, and adapting those. And he has Pluto here. This is where he holds his power. Now, sometimes where you have Pluto, it could be a psychological wound where you don't always feel like you have utilized your potential. Pluto is potential. It's where you hold your power. But sometimes it can just be that you don't manage to actually use that power in this lifetime. I think we can safely say he is using his power with Pluto in the third house. This is quite literally the house of travel. This is the house of travel. It's cars, it's automobiles, it's routes, it's driving, it's getting here, there, and everywhere. So fascinating that he's got his chart ruler in the third house of quite literally travel, automobiles, cars, in the sign of Virgo, you know, building things, making things, perfecting things. And his Pluto is here as well. Now, with his moon being here, this is his emotional attachment. Now, on a non-business side, he will have an emotional need to talk about how he feels. That is moon in the third house. Emotionally, you need to talk about how you feel. You need to communicate with people. You need to connect with people in order to be emotionally happy. Moon in Virgo is somebody that is very hard on themselves, very critical, and constantly needs to improve. Now, I don't know what his mother was like. Perhaps he had a critical mother. I think I read at some point that he chose to live with his father, so I'm not sure on the relationship with the mother. Like I said, maybe she was overly critical. That can be a sense of moon in Virgo, an overly critical mother or an anxious mother of some kind. I think his father was also very, very hard on him from a couple of things I read on his Wikipedia page. And he does have Uranus in the fourth house. So this speaks towards an unusual family of some kind, coming from an unusual family in some ways, a family that's non-conforming or a little bit different in some kind. I think his dad was also involved in business or something. And maybe his family has influenced his love for technology, possibly as well. Now, with your sun in the first house, this is somebody that is very capable of running their own business. The first house is naturally ruled by Aries. It's the pioneer, and we can see that he has Aries on his 10th house of career, and his MC is in Aries. So he is seen by the public. MC, your MC line, is what you are seen as. He is seen publicly as a pioneer, the first. You know, he is the inventor of Tesla, and he's, you know, trying to get to space and Mars and whatever he's doing technology. He is the first. He is the first to do it. It's Aries, it's the pioneer, and it's constantly going forward, doing stuff, trial and error. Interestingly, he has his Chiron here. So it's like, does he feel that does he have something to prove maybe to his dad? Because I read somewhere that his dad told him he was useless, and I just feel like maybe he has something to prove with Chiron in the 10th, because Chiron is where you feel a pain. So it's like, does he feel a pain in his reputation, a wound? There's a wound here, but it's also a wound that you can work with and you can build on to help others. Maybe he feels he is never going to be good enough. Maybe he feels like nothing is ever good enough, and the legacy he's building is never quite enough. And that's why he keeps going and going and going. This could actually be where his drive comes from. Sometimes it can manifest as a vulnerability, but for him, he's obviously taking it and using it as his power. Now, Mars, that rules this house, is conjunct his North Node in the 8th house in Aquarius. So interesting that Aquarius like rules the internet and is one of the other signs related to technology. It's forward thinking, it's inventions, it's space, it's aliens. Everything that he stands for is the sign of Aquarius. And I'm surprised that he doesn't have more Aquarius in his chart, to be honest. But he does have his Mars in Aquarius. And so Aquarius rules the internet. Like I said, it's technology, it's forward thinking, it's robots, it's AI, which obviously he's now helping develop. And having the ruler of your reputation and the ruler of your career over in Aquarius would make perfect sense, because this is how we see him. We see him as an inventor. We see him as somebody that is a pioneer. We see him as somebody that is innovative. I can never say that word, innovative, you know what I mean? Forward thinking, forward motion, somebody of the future, Anyone with Aquarius placements is from the future. His North Node is here. He's actually living out his life purpose, doing what he's doing. And what I find interesting is that his North and South Node are in his financial houses. Now, being the richest man in the world, I was expecting to see a little bit more in his second house. But he's got his South Node here. This is not the first time that he's accumulated wealth. He came into this life knowing how to make money. Now, with your South Node in the second house, you're actually encouraged to release the need for material possessions, and you're actually encouraged more towards your North Node, which is joint finances. So interestingly, you know, how many businesses does he have? How many joint businesses does he have? How many investments does he have? This is actually how you work with your South Node in the second and North Node in the eighth. You lean more towards investments and joint finances and come away just from I need to own this, I need to own that. So he's actually working with this nodal placement really, really effectively. So, you know, if you're watching this and you have your South Node in the second and you think, oh God, I'm never going to make money, because it can be tricky initially with the South Node in the second house to make income, because it can just feel like a tough slog, because you've done it so many times in your previous lives. In this lifetime, it can feel like a bit of a tough slog when you have the South Node in the second house, because you're actually here to let other people help you financially. But the way to use that is to maybe invest, is to go into business with somebody else, is to group together in a sign of Aquarius to help the people, and that's how the money can flow in. So very interesting that he is actually activating that. And with his Mars conjunct the North Node, he's actually learning how to utilize his own energy and his own interests. And his career is direct, because Mars rules this 10th house of career. His career is directly involved in investments and money joint to other people. So that's very interesting, like the connection between his career, his public image, and the finances. Now, the sun that rules his second house of finances, like I said, is in the first house. So this is very much a case of I can run my own business. I'm capable. I'm confident. It's the Aries energy again. It's cardinal. It's going after what you want. It's being brave, being bold, being courageous. The sun is sextile his moon, so how he feels and what he wants are in harmony with each other. He's going after his goals, the sun, and his moon is on board with it. They are working together. So his emotional needs and his wants are in harmony. This is always really beneficial when your sun and your moon are working together, because it means you find it easier to go after what you want. Now, his sun is squaring Uranus, and so is his Mercury. And this is so interesting, because this is where his Aquarian, to me, I see like Aquarianness. This is where this is coming from, I think. Because Sun squaring Uranus is somebody who is so individual, so non-conforming, so kind of wacky and quirky that people are like, what's wrong with this dude? It's somebody that just doesn't care. Now, because it is the square, sometimes it can be, it can manifest as, somebody that actually is so rebellious or so non-conforming that they can offend other people. They just do what they want and they don't care. It can manifest as that. The sun is your identity. And this is somebody that is a rebel, somebody that is different. Now, Mercury squaring Uranus is someone that says unusual things, that thinks in an unusual way. His mind is probably a million miles an hour. When you have Mercury in the first house, it can be quite an anxious placement anyway, because you're constantly thinking. His thoughts, his ideas, a direct connection, his life, his life direction, first house, is in direct contact with his thoughts and his ideas. In the sign of Cancer, he's going to be very intuitively creative, because Mercury in Cancer is making decisions based on your emotions, which probably sounds quite an unusual thing to do as a really strong businessman, but maybe he uses, maybe he really listens to his intuition when he's making decisions. But Mercury squaring Uranus is, it can be quite an anxious placement and kind of an erratic placement. And this is saying things that can offend people. This is being unusual, being weird, typically, weird, whatever weird is. That's how that can come across. Now, thinking, like I said, thinking about outside the box inventions, this is an event. This is the energy of an inventor. And this is why squares aren't always bad in your chart. He is using this energy well. His thoughts and ideas squaring Uranus. This is somebody that is inventing things. He probably does a lot of his thinking behind closed doors with Uranus in the 4th house, and then puts things out into the world, obviously. Now, what else can we say? So we've spoken about Pluto in the 3rd house. This is your, like I said, this is your power, where your whole, he's immense power around the travel industry, automobiles, technology we've mentioned. His Pluto is trining Saturn. So this is somebody whose boundaries and goals and structures are in harmony with what he wants to create and how he can transform. Saturn and Pluto are working together, which is beneficial. Saturn is our discipline. Pluto is holding the power. It's like, okay, I have power to create this and I've got the discipline to get there. Saturn in the 12th house, we have no idea what goes on behind and his thoughts behind closed doors, but maybe he struggles with his mental health. I don't know him. I don't know enough about him personally to really comment on the Saturn in his 12th house. Sometimes it can be blockages around being able to let things go, being able to tap into your meditative side can be restrained with Saturn the 12th, and sometimes it can be it can be quite challenging having Saturn in the 12th, because the 12th house is sometimes the house of pain and suffering. So having Saturn there can be a bit tricky. But like I said, I don't know enough about his personal life to comment on that. Venus is also in the 12th, which is interesting because Venus rules money. So Venus in Gemini, this is making money from multiple businesses or whatever, multiple means of income possible. Venus is squaring his north node in the 8th house. So this is investments in harmony with Venus. So things going on behind closed doors. The 12th house is what goes on behind the scenes, making money behind the scenes. And actually, maybe it's just a sense of his investments just ticking over and just accumulating his wealth. Venus is this is the only aspect to Venus. She's being trined by Mars, his energy. So his energy is in harmony with his money-making skills, and this is in air signs. This is all about thinking, logic, communication, and these are both the signs of technology. Interesting. He's also got Jupiter, abundance, luck, prosperity in his 5th house. The 5th house is your business. It's where you take risks. Yes, it's also children, and I know he does have some children. And yeah, so this is where he can expand in the sign of Scorpio. So, going deeper, transformative business opportunities as well. Now, he's got Neptune 0 degrees of the 6th house. The 6th house is his work. It's also his health. I don't know anything about his health, so I can't comment on that. But his work being directly tied to his imagination. Neptune is your imagination, thinking outside the box, Sagittarius. 0 degrees is critical. It's a karmic degree. It's a very fresh energy. It's somebody that comes into this life with a huge amount of baby, I like to call it baby energy. Because the 0 degree is an Aries degree. It's pioneering. Neptune is, wow, the sky is not even the limit. He's the space dude. Like, there are no limits for this man. And this is in his 6th house of how he's a being of service to others and his daily work and routines. So it's almost like he's dreaming big, but he's got to put some structure around it. He wants to go to space. He wants to put a flag on Mars. How are you going to get there, mate? That's the opposition to Saturn natally, which, again, very interesting. And what's also interesting, his part of fortune is in the 3rd house as well. And this is where we hold our luck. 3rd house, again, travel, communities, neighborhoods, getting around. It's really, this is, in cars, part of fortune here. This is, yeah, even his 3rd house alone is very telling. And obviously we've said that Mercury rules this and it's in his 1st. And like I said, when you have a planet on an angle, it's so strong that this is proving to be a huge part of his life. So take a look at your own chart. Do you have any planets directly on an angle? Because what is the energy of that planet and how is it manifesting in your life? Very interesting to look at even just certain, little parts of your chart like that and see actually, and think to yourself, okay, how do thoughts, how does communication, how does travel, Mercury also rules travel, show up in my life, whatever the planet is. Very interesting. So let's just take a look at his transit chart. I just written transit chart there, so I'm moving my head. I just thought, because recently, what's going on? So obviously he's becoming more and more and more and more famous. Very relevant at the moment with the inauguration stuff. But obviously, he's actually under a bit of controversy at the moment because of that hand gesture, which I'm not going to say, but you know if you know. Now, I think this is firstly part of Mars in the first house because cancers are going through it right now. Mars in the first, it's frustrations, it's things not really going your way. Obviously, he's had a lot going his way, but this whole thing is, really blowing up. And I'm not going to comment on whether this was deliberate or not. I'd like to think it's not. Maybe he just genuinely didn't really think what he was doing, but we won't go into that. Mars in the first house is some frustrations. Mars rules his 10th house of career. So this is the Mars retrograde is probably going to be part of this story. This is going to get blown out of proportion. He's going to have to be fighting for his rights, fighting for his beliefs, saying, I didn't mean it, blah, blah, blah. And his reputation is obviously very up in the, very relevant right now. He's got North Node, who's now retrograded back to his 0 degree of his 10th house. This is your public image, your reputation at a critical degree. It's conjunct Neptune. This is confusion. Oh, what does everyone mean I did that hand gesture? Oh no, that's not what it meant. That is Neptune in the North Node. Neptune is confusion, not understanding where things are coming from. And the North Node in the 10th is your reputation. Critical degree is what's kind of activating this. Opposite his natal Pluto. Pluto is like, when we see Pluto activated in celebrities' charts, it's like the rise and fall of. It can go either way. So Pluto's kind of being activated in his 3rd house of communication, networking, well, one of the signs of networking, connection. Neptune opposing this, people not seeing things clearly or not understanding something. And there being some sort of tension here, and the North Node is kind of activating this. So I thought that was quite interesting. And interestingly as well, he's just had the Sun-Pluto conjunction in his 8th house of transformation, of investments, of other people's money. And he is having, Pluto's going to activate his North Node. He's going to be having his 2nd nodal return in the next few years when Pluto comes here to activate his North Node. This is probably going to be bringing huge transformations around his investments and money in some sense. But this Sun conjunct Pluto in the 8th house, he's just been part of this big nomination of, I'm not sure of his role within the government. I can't remember the name of it. I did look it up. But yeah, obviously he's working with the American government. And that is a transformation. That is a huge transformation. And this is, again, it's his financial sector. So this is a start of a cycle for him in his joint finances. Very interesting. And what's also interesting is the South Node and the North. So his information house is about to get activated by the transiting South and North Node. So the South Node is about to move into his 3rd house, which we know his 3rd house is so relevant because of obviously his links to quite literally inventing cars, Tesla, whatever. The South Node is going to conjunct his Pluto. So I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder what's going to happen over the next few months with the things that he's inventing, the technology stuff. Maybe he's letting go of things that aren't working, because the South Node is where we're letting stuff go. We're releasing being critical, Virgo. So maybe he's kind of making some adjustments to things that he's been working on. But the North Node is the 9th house and it's long distance travel. So I wonder if there'll be any developments in the space travel within the next 18 months with the North Node in his 9th house. In the sign of Pisces, which is about imagination, dreaming big. So that's going to be really interesting to see over the next 18 months as his information houses get activated. Now, I just wanted to show you his progress chart because I find this really fascinating as well. So at the moment, his progress Sun. So if you don't know what progressions are, this is when your natal placements are slowly progressed. 1 day equals a year, and then it's added to your natal chart. It's a bit confusing to explain, but just know it's a timing technique, and it helps us to see kind of different phases of your life and how your natal chart has slowly evolved. So where's my cursor? So his Sun, natal Sun, has progressed, is actually, where is it? 27 degrees of his 2nd house. So this is a huge part of why he's so rich, because his Sun progressed and it's been here for nearly 30 years. So so it moves 1 degree per year, the sun. So let's just say, so his sun's at 5 degrees. So 20, so at the age of 25, his sun would have moved into the second house. And because the sun rules Leo, it's very comfortable here. So that's when he really would have been focusing on money, earning his money. And that's probably where the richness has come from. That's still going to be there for a few years. But the moon, and Venus is here too, she rules money in his second house. This is activating his wealth. Now, the moon moves much faster. So the main reason I look at this chart is to see where the progress moon is and what phases is it going through. Now, his progress moon it's been in the second house. It takes about two and a bit years for each house. So for the past, bearing in mind it's here, 2-ish years, his progress moon's been in the second house, putting even more emphasis on his finances. Obviously, he bought Twitter, which is now X. That's a huge part of that story. How much I can't remember how much he bought it for, blah, blah, blah. Wealth is accumulating. He's just becoming more and more and more wealthy and rich and famous. So now the moon is actually going to move into his, when is it? So within the next year, and then by the end of 2027, so the moon's going to be transiting his third house. It's this third house activation of, well, we know cars, technology, everything he's known for is going to be further activated by his progress moon coming into this house. And it's going to be really interesting because he's going to be having what we call a progressed lunar return. His natal moon and his progress moon are coming back together. This is kind of like a reset. Now, he doesn't feel like he's been slowing down. In fact, if anything, he feels like he's been speeding up. But there's going to be a new beginning here for him within the next, so after the next year and then onwards, there's going to be a new beginning. He's going to be starting a new lunar cycle. And at the end of 2027, when the progress moon comes and hits his natal Pluto, there's going to be a huge activation. Now, progressed moon conjunct natal Pluto is a hugely emotional time. So I'm not saying it's going to be a really important transformation in a good way. For him, it could be something quite catastrophic, to be honest, but it might not be. It could be, you know, a new invention. It could be, it's going to be something really important around November 2027. So we'll keep each other posted on what happens there. But this house activated is more information, more learning, more technology. It's activating this part of his chart, so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see, you know, is he going to invent something new? Is he going to achieve something really quite transformative when the moon comes to meet Pluto? So I'm really quite excited to see how that's going to manifest. But that's going to be kind of the main thing that I look at the progress chart for. Now, was there anything else I wanted to mention? Oh, yeah, it'll be interesting because with his transit chart in March, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on with his public career. So his public image, his reputation, and his career. Saturn and Neptune are going to move into his 10th house. This can be your career. So on the one hand, Neptune in the 10th can be you're seen as, so he could be seen as somebody that's just so imaginative, so up in the clouds. Saturn's going to be here too. Maybe he's actually going to be putting his visions into practice. That is how that can manifest. On the one hand, his whole reputation could dissolve in some sense. Unlikely, but it's possible. So that's going to be really interesting. Saturn in the 10th is like, right, you're really focused on your goals. You can find it a little bit frustrating to get towards your goals because there can be some limitations, but you're being asked to be more disciplined around what it is that you're working towards. And with Neptune there, and Saturn together, it's like, okay, I'm putting my dreams into a reality. So the fact that they're together makes it really, really interesting. And obviously it's going to be opposing his natal Pluto. When Saturn, I mean, Neptune already is, but when Saturn comes, you know, his boundaries, his structures, his rules, there's going to be a transformation around what he's working towards with the opposition to Pluto. So there's going to be some things happen for him. Maybe when we see in March, April, May, when these planets dip in, they're going to move back out. So 2026, we might see more of what's going on here. But as Saturn moves across April, May time, it'll be interesting to see if any of his inventions take hold or anything new comes around March, April time. because it's going to be Saturn opposite Pluto. It can be a tense aspect, but if you're somebody that's working hard towards your goals, Saturn, then it can be rewarding. Something might crumble in order to be resurrected, should we say? That's often happening. But it'll be interesting to see, how he comes out of this current sticky situation that he's got himself in, and that really is, is part of the Mars retrograde. Like I said, Cancers are going through something right now, and maybe this is his thing. So anyway, I'm going to stop there, guys. Let me know your thoughts. I hope you found that beneficial. If you are new to astrology, and I've talked loads of astrology language, then I do apologize. Maybe watch it a couple of times and make notes, or just simply write in the comments if there's anything that I said that you don't really understand, and I will get back to you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. Give this video a thumbs up to let me know that you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.